In the heart of Louisiana, where the bayous whisper secrets to the wind and the cypress trees stand sentinel over the murky waters, there lies a legend so gruesome it's been shrouded in mystery for decades. The story of Robert Barthelemy, also known as Bobby the Kid, has captivated true crime enthusiasts and locals alike with its dark tale of murder, betrayal, and ultimately, a shocking revelation that would change everything. On October 21, 1973, Bobby's lifeless body was discovered in a sugarcane field near Jean Lafitte National Historical Park. He had been brutally beaten, left to rot in the blistering heat with no signs of forced entry or struggle. The only clue was a cryptic message scrawled on the ground nearby: "The Caddo Kid will pay." This chilling phrase would haunt the small town of Grand Isle for years to come. As investigators began piecing together the events surrounding Bobby's murder, they discovered that he had been involved in some shady dealings. The 19-year-old had a history of petty theft and was known to frequent the local underworld. His association with notorious gang members like the infamous Caddo Kid, Alton Alexander, raised suspicions. But as detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a web of deceit and corruption that went far beyond a simple gang rivalry. The Caddo Kid, it turned out, had been using his charisma and influence to manipulate others into committing crimes on his behalf. He had built a reputation as a ruthless enforcer, and many believed him to be responsible for Bobby's gruesome murder. However, as the investigation continued, detectives began to uncover evidence that pointed to another suspect entirely. Led by Detective James Hawk Hawkins, a seasoned veteran of the Grand Isle Police Department, the team pored over witness statements and forensic evidence. They discovered that Bobby had been involved in a heated argument with none other than Alton's brother, 22-year-old Michael Alexander, just hours before his body was found. The investigation led them to a seedy bar on Bourbon Street, where Michael had been known to frequent. Witness accounts revealed that Michael had indeed been at the scene of the crime, and several patrons reported seeing him in a heated exchange with Bobby earlier that night. But it wasn't until they discovered a security camera footage from a nearby convenience store that the case took a dramatic turn. The grainy recording showed Michael's suspicious behavior on the evening of October 20, just hours before the murder. As detectives continued to build their case, they uncovered a motive for the crime that shocked everyone involved: a long-standing family feud between the Alexander brothers and Robert Barthelemy. It seemed that Bobby had stumbled into a web of decades-old animosity, sparked by his own family's involvement in a tragic event that had left deep scars on both sides. The roots of this ancient conflict ran deep, dating back to the 1950s when Robert Barthelemy's father, Joseph, was involved in a violent dispute with Alton Alexander's family over land rights. This animosity had simmered for years, with both families harboring resentment towards each other. When Bobby got involved with Michael Alexander's associates, he inadvertently reignited the flames of this long-dormant feud. As detectives dug deeper into the family history, they discovered that Joseph Barthelemy's actions had been misinterpreted by Alton and his brother. The truth was that Joseph had indeed sought to reclaim land lost by his own father due to financial difficulties. But in doing so, he crossed paths with the influential Alexander clan, leading to a bitter confrontation. In the decades following this initial dispute, both families continued to harbor ill will towards one another. When Bobby became embroiled in their rivalry, it was only a matter of time before things escalated into violence. Michael's involvement in the crime seemed less about revenge and more about protecting his family's honor, an ancient code that still governed many lives in rural Louisiana. As detectives carefully pieced together the events surrounding Bobby's murder, they discovered a trail of forensic evidence that would prove crucial to their case. Fiber analysis revealed a significant amount of material from a specific type of fabric found near the crime scene, a brand commonly used in Alton Alexander's clothing line. Further investigation led them to a warehouse on the outskirts of town where Michael Alexander was seen frequenting. Inside, they discovered a stash of incriminating evidence, torn fabric scraps matching the same brand as those found at the murder site, along with several broken knives and a hidden safe containing documents detailing the family feud's long history. The break in the case came when they discovered that Bobby had been scheduled to testify against Michael Alexander's associates just days before his murder. The motive for the crime was no longer in doubt. It was clear that Michael had silenced Bobby to prevent him from speaking out against their wrongdoings. As investigators closed in on Michael, they began to unravel a complex web of deceit involving several members of his family. Alton Alexander, the infamous Caddo Kid, had indeed been using his influence to cover up Michael's crimes, but only after realizing that their own family dynamics were about to be exposed. In an astonishing twist, detectives discovered a secret recording made by Bobby himself, which implicated multiple high-ranking officials within the Louisiana Sheriff's Department in corruption and abuse of power. It seemed that Bobby had been more than just an ordinary kid from Grand Isle. He was on the verge of blowing the lid off one of the state's most entrenched crime syndicates. This revelation sent shockwaves through the small town, as locals realized that their beloved community had been infiltrated by some of the most powerful figures in Louisiana politics. Michael Alexander would ultimately confess to Bobby's murder, citing protection as his motive, a chilling admission that echoed the code of honor and loyalty shared among many residents. On June 10, 1974, exactly 8 months after Robert Barthelemy's brutal murder, Michael Alexander was brought to justice. Convicted on multiple charges, including first-degree murder and conspiracy, he received a life sentence at Angola State Penitentiary. In the aftermath of this tragic event, Grand Isle would never be the same. A new era of transparency and accountability dawned on the community as several high-ranking officials were stripped of their power, and many residents began to speak out against corruption within their ranks. The Barthelemy family, though still reeling from the loss of their loved one, found solace in knowing that justice had finally been served. As they reflected on the events that transpired, it became clear that Bobby's story was not just a tale of senseless violence but also one of courage and sacrifice. His determination to expose corruption had ultimately cost him his life. It's been nearly 50 years since Robert Barthelemy's tragic fate was met. The legend of Bobby the Kid has endured, serving as a haunting reminder of the darkness that can lurk in even the most idyllic settings. But as we look back on this story, one thing becomes clear: it wasn't just a tale of murder and betrayal, it was a testament to the power of truth, no matter how difficult or uncomfortable it may be. The people of Grand Isle will never forget Robert Barthelemy's sacrifice. His memory serves as a beacon, illuminating the path towards justice and accountability in a world often shrouded in darkness. As we close this chapter on one of Louisiana's most infamous crimes, let us remember that truth, like the cypress trees that stand tall along its bayous, remains an unyielding force, standing watch over the communities it protects, no matter what secrets may be buried beneath.